Welcome to From Our Family to Yours, the podcast where we share our journey of raising kids on a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. I'm Brittany from the Drudy family, and I'm thrilled to have you join us as we explore the joys, challenges, and incredible benefits of embarking a plant-powered lifestyle as a family. We'll dive into our personal experiences, offer practical tips, and chat with the experts who will inspire and guide you on your own path to healthy, compassionate living. From delicious, kid-approved recipes to navigating social situations, we've got you covered. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's embark on this nourishing journey together. Welcome to From Our Family to Yours, where every bite brings us closer to health, happiness, and harmony. I'm so thrilled that you're here today, and we're going to chat all about my whole food plant-based pregnancy. So little man is currently sleeping right now, so I've been really efficient with his naps and getting stuff done. So I'm hoping to get this whole podcast recorded while I watch him on the baby monitor, taking a little snooze. So right now he is currently 7 weeks today when I'm recording this. This podcast comes out pretty much a week after, so he will be closer to 8 weeks then. But we've just been loving getting into a routine, and really I feel like around week 7, 6, 7, his personality has really started to emerge. And so it's been, oh my gosh, so fun and such a cool experience. I've been trying to take a moment in all of the, your schedule is kind of crazy and there's so much to do and it can feel kind of overwhelming being a first-time mom. But I am so conscious of just taking a step back and trying to soak in and being so in the moment with him, because I know that I'm never going to get week 7 back. He already is out of newborn clothing and into kind of 0 to 3 months, closer to 3 months clothing. 3 months clothing is really comfortable on him right now. So I've already packed up all of his newborn stuff, which is very sad. There's some stuff he didn't even get to wear because he has grown so much, but we again just are really loving this special time. So I'm going to talk more about birth. That'll be the next podcast, will be my birth story. We're going to talk all about different stages of him growing. But before we jump into all that, we're going to back up and talk about my pregnancy. So back in September, I was at Ethos Farm Days. For those of you guys that know about that farm, it's in New Jersey, and they have a wonderful, usually around the fall time. It was in September last year. During that time frame, they have a whole weekend where they have speakers and presenters, and I was asked to be a presenter. I did a cooking demo and helped out with the kids program and did a couple other things for them that weekend. And this really was the first sign that I actually was pregnant during it and didn't know. So that's where we're going to start. Me and my husband had not been trying per se, but not trying. Really, it's just the first time where we decided not block anything. I actually became pregnant, which if you have been struggling with infertility, that can be a very triggering sentence to say, that we got pregnant on the first try. I know, and throughout my pregnancy, even now, know how lucky I am, because I did not think that was going to happen. I was 33. I'm still currently 33. I turn 34 next month. But I thought being a little bit older, it would take a little bit more of an effort. We didn't know whether myself or Mark had any issues with getting pregnant or anything like that. So we were very shocked whenever I took my pregnancy test, and really after the first try, we became pregnant with Paul. So it was expected, but kind of unexpected how quick it happened, if that makes sense. Around, I believe around August, end of August, we conceived him. And then the beginning of September was farm days. And it was, that in-between time where you're waiting for your period, you're not quite sure. And I, at farm days, made a comment to Mark when I was getting dressed. Wow, my boobs look huge. Like, what is going on? They look like really big. What, don't they look big? I remember like changing and asking Mark like his opinion, like, this isn't in my head, right? And so that was really like the only indicator that I was pregnant per se. I knew my period was going to come soon, so I just kind of chalked it up to that. But it's really funny now, like looking back, being like, oh, that's because I was pregnant and didn't know it yet. So a week or two goes by from farm days, and my period is supposed to come. And I just had like a gut feeling like, I bet I'm pregnant. It was the weirdest thing. I'm somewhat intuitive, but this was like really kind of wild for me to be like so sure in something where I took a pregnancy test by myself and found out I was pregnant. And it just was like, I couldn't believe when I saw the two lines showed up right away. I think I went out and bought like another pregnancies test that said like pregnant or not pregnant. Pregnant showed up right away. And I just was blown away because again, we only had tried one time and I was just shocked how quick it happened. Now my menstrual cycle since I got it has always been regular. And so I had a hankering that like not that I could not get pregnant, but I thought like, oh, I probably will be okay because I haven't had any issues with anything besides, with menstruation or anything else like that in the past. I didn't have endometriosis. I didn't have um, anything that would be kind of a red flag on my end. So anyway, so real big shock. And then it happened to be around Mark's birthday that I found out. It was a couple of days before his birthday. So I actually ran out and bought some onesies, some dinosaur onesies. I didn't know we were having a boy, obviously, that early, but it's funny now. I made everything dinosaur themed. I like dinosaurs, girl or boy, whatever. But it is funny now looking back at it that like all the stuff I got for him was very like boy centered, I guess, if you had to pick a gender. Again, I'm a girl and love dinosaurs, so if we had a girl, she'd love dinosaurs as well. Um, but really funny to look back. So bought a bunch of onesies. I, put the pregnancy test, wrapped it up. What else did I do? I think I bought all of his birthday stuff. I also made dinosaur themed. So like I got, a happy birthday banner and all of that things. And I set up a camera to record his reaction opening up the gift. Now, I was so nervous about not nervous about, I was so excited to tell him and so like shocked myself that I set up the camera about like 45 minutes before he got home and started recording, thinking like, oh, I have enough battery, I have enough memory cards, I do YouTube, it'll be fine. And I tried to like put it in the corner and actually I tried to put like a towel draped over the tripod, like try to conceal it in some way so he didn't see that he was being recorded. I didn't want to give away any indications like, hey, this might be, I might be telling you I'm pregnant. And so it was recording, he came in and then it shut off before he even opened the gift. Of course, he came in and was like, I want to shower. And I was like, don't you want to open your gift? He works at a still mill. So sometimes when he's in the plant, like when he gets home, before he sits down, he wants to like change his clothes and shower from being in the plant. Um, and I'm like, oh, like, this time you really should just like take a moment and open your gift. I'm really excited to give it to you. So he went and I think he went and showered. And then I was like waiting, trying not to like conceal it on my face, like cool, calm, and collective, even though I was like dying inside to tell him. And then he finally sat down. I think he wanted to get something to eat. And I'm like, oh, you really should open up this gift. And he finally sat down and I got to share with him. And he was shocked. I wish I would have got the reaction on camera. I try to be in the moment and just like focus on opening the gifts. And I honestly thought the camera was recording. But either way, like in my head, I always have that memory. And he was blown away. And so since his birthday in September, it just has been this like whirlwind of, oh my gosh, we're pregnant. This is our new chapter in life, and started the prep for it. So I Yeah, it's so exciting. So anyway, so once I got pregnant, I called my gynecologist office and they make you wait, you don't actually come in right away. So there's I found a lot of anxiety around like trying to make sure that you make it to that appointment, that you don't miscarry. That's was really what I thought about a bunch during that time period, and really all the way up until you get to week 20. And even after that, like, my head, I always was just like, okay, is the baby healthy? Is everything good? Each time we had our appointments, even like as I was giving birth to him, that was like such a focus of mine was like, okay, I believe that everything was going to turn out fine. And thankfully it did. But I feel like, especially, you know, you hear a lot of stories and it's just a concern that, it's gonna work out. So that first couple weeks was just kind of like being excited. I didn't tell anyone. I told like a small handful of people, like my brother, I called instantly. Some very, very close family. And then other than that, we kind of waited because again, I wanted to make sure we made it to that first appointment until around week 12 to start filling in and telling people. So it just was a very exciting time. We kind of lived in our little bubble of bliss and started to plan um, boy or girl. And for us, we had boy and girl's names already picked out. So my husband and I have been together for 18 years. We've been dating, I've known him for 18 years now. And we started dating in 10th grade. And this year, we'll be married for 10 years. So we have been throughout high school, college, first jobs, marriage. I mean, like you name it, like we've pretty much grown up and done it together. So we just kind of, again, took that time period kind of in our little bliss bubble of exciting news that we had and just really savored it. I think a lot of people um maybe like question like, are we going to have kids? Do we want to have kids? Are we having trouble having kids? And our story is a little bit more complicated than most because I feel like we were ready to have kids around the age of 28, 27, 28, and we actively talked about it. But then my mom got sick and got diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And I quickly became my mom's caregiver. And we were just talking about like, do we try to have kids to have her see her grandchild before, if something bad happens and she passes? Do I want the stress of taking care of my mom and being pregnant at the same time? So we really kind of made a decision to put it on the back burner and just focus on my mom. Now, I don't regret that decision. I do think it would have made it even more stressful, already the most stressful time in my life. Do I wish my mom would have seen her grandson? Of course. It breaks my heart so much that my mom did not get to meet Paul in this world. I like to think that she sent him to me. Um, and I do honestly think that she sent them to me. My mom was a labor and delivery nurse, which plays into a lot of decisions I made during my birth story I'll talk about next podcast. But she was such a lover of babies. I mean, she pretty much was a labor and delivery nurse pretty much her whole career of being a nurse, and that's what she loved to do. She worked at a smaller, like country hospital for a good amount of time when I was in elementary and middle school, and then moved to like more of the city. If anyone is in the area from Pittsburgh, she moved to West Penn Hospital, which is in Bloomfield, which is more of a city hospital, a larger hospital for the rest of her career. And she just loved moms and babies so much. I just remember from a young age going to pick her up from work and stopping by the nursery and getting to see all the babies in the nursery when I was little. And then I remember just in general, like everything she's always talked about babies. So she would have been world's best grandma, would have been the person doing the most like, you know, handstands, clapping, over the moon, excited about having me having a baby. So it's bittersweet that we didn't get to do that before she passed, but I did listen to where we were at in our life, our relationship, what we wanted to do, different things that we had, goals and different things. So I am very happy we did it now. I would have not had this version of Paul if we would have done it earlier. And yeah, so anyway, just to throw that out there that, unfortunately we have to make all these decisions throughout our lives, but I do feel that things happen for a reason as they're meant to happen. So anyway, that's me trying not to be too hard on myself about not having a baby before she passed, but that was the decision. So we put it on the back burner, knowing that we always wanted kids. It was something that we talked about often in our dating marriage. We also had the names picked out for a really long time. If we had a boy, this was a conversation we had about 10 years ago. We knew that we named him Paul. We never questioned that. Like every couple years, I'd bring it up, like, "Hey, do you still like the name Paul?" Because Paul, for me, we're naming him after my grandfather who passed many years ago. And so I always brought it up to Mark, like, do you still like the name Paul? Like just to check in, because if he wanted something different, it's not all my decision to name our child. I wanted to make sure we both loved it. And he'd always be like, yeah, I still love it. And so we just kind of rolled with that. So when we got pregnant, if it was a boy, we knew we'd name him Paul. So that was really sweet. There really wasn't any like tension about picking a name. We knew it from the day I found out I was pregnant. And yeah, anyway, so fast forward, we actually did a sneak peek test for the gender around, I think, week 13, 14, 12 to 14, somewhere in there early. I always wanted to know the gender. I love the idea of waiting to first surprise when the baby's born, but I am a type A person. I also felt like me knowing the name and like being able to envision the sex of the baby and kind of plan for that and kind of dream about that really would help me like bond throughout my pregnancy. And I'm so happy we did. We found out together at home through an email, and it was just very sweet, me and him finding out. I think we both were shocked. I think Mark thought we were having a girl. And I, from the dinosaur onesies, presenting him at his gift for his birthday, I knew we were having a boy, I think deep down inside. So either way, didn't matter. But Paul was in our mind. So throughout my first trimester, some things that surprised me were I actually got morning sickness, which I actually call all day sickness. It's not just in the morning. Um, and that kind of kicked my butt. Not that I was like throwing up violently throughout the whole thing. People have it way worse. That was like also a mantra that I remembered, is that like, not that I'm kind of a person that like is like buck up, but to myself, I kind of do that, which is good and bad in some ways. But I remember being like, there's people out there that are like puking all day long, can't keep anything down, have to be hospitalized for dehydration. Like, I puked like 1 to 2 times a day, maybe. Um, and, it was like, oh, it could be way worse. So that was like main thing I was dealing with. Also, food aversions kind of surprised me. So I got asked a lot, like, did I have food cravings? I did not have any food cravings my whole pregnancy. Nothing I needed in the moment, or I would like freak out. Nothing that I like made Mark go and get. Nothing that like sounded so good I couldn't get out of my head. I just didn't have any cravings. Now, I don't know if that's because I really focused on nutrition throughout my whole pregnancy and maybe there wasn't something I was deficient in. Who knows? But that was kind of a thing that surprised me, is that there was no cravings for me. But I did have food aversions the first trimester. So before I was pregnant, I was used to eating like big green chopped salads every day. I also was used to eating different textures of foods. And there was nothing that sounded good for those first weeks. Like I could not get any greens, nothing of that sounded good. Anytime I thought about it, it made me nauseous. And that was really surprising. But as soon as I got to the second trimester, those two things pretty much went away, which was great because I feel like the weeks in the first trimester can seem very long, every stage, but that first trimester and the last trimester, the last couple weeks, I feel like it seems like it takes forever. Moving to the second trimester, that was my sweet spot. I felt great. You could have I could have done everything. Like we end up having my baby shower towards the end of my second trimester. But for example, I made all of the desserts for my baby shower, which was like brownies, cakes. I made a special like mini cake for my niece because her birthday fell on the day of my baby shower. So I made her a special own thing. And I was up, gosh, I was doing things for like days on end for the shower, but also like the night before the shower, I think I was up till like 1 a.m. and then got up the next day. I like didn't barely sleep because I was like in the kitchen, like making sure everything was like fresh and ready to go. Um, and then I got to the shower and I iced all of my cakes in the back of where we had our shower and put them out because for me it was really important. Like I just want to make all of his birthday cakes and like special memory cakes from here on out. I don't know. I can talk about my backstory about my mom did growing up for us. That was really special. But for him, I just wanted to kind of start from the get-go. So like from his baby shower, I made his cakes, which I just think is so sweet and memorable. And I'm looking forward to doing that for the rest of his life, if he lets me, when he's older and stuff, maybe obviously maybe I'll drop off a baked good, every year for his birthday. I think that's very special and caring. I like to show my love through cooking, obviously with my YouTube channel and making recipes for a living. Um, and that just extends to my son as well, or any of my kids if we have more. And yeah, so anyway, so I felt really good. So like being towards almost I was like almost the very end of my second trimester doing that. So the amount of energy being on your feet a lot, it just like was really amazing. Again, shows you kind of the stage I was in that I was feeling so good and you know, felt great. All of that stuff went away. No more morning sickness, no more food aversions. I could go back to eating stuff. Um, and yeah. So, and then the third trimester came and again, felt really great. I would say like the main thing was maybe just like being a little bit more tired in the third trimester. And then towards week 30, 35, 36, just like a little bit more uncomfortable. Like I never felt like bad. I always said to like I remember telling Mark at the end that like I could probably go another month if I had to. Because I really felt pretty amazing. My whole thing was just like bending over to pick up something just became like a little bit more awkward how you had to squat down towards the end with a big belly. And for me it was just like little stuff like like going through a door and being like, oh, I have to open up a little bit wider to move, or moving the steering wheel like away from my belly. Like things like that were just like a little bit more like, oh, I'm looking forwards to like being able to lay on my stomach, to being able to bend over like no issue, not have to think about how I'm getting there, getting up, being able to like do those kind of things, were really what I was looking forward to. But I felt really good up, pretty much the whole time. Even like the days before, I was like, making sure everything was ready, cleaning. Seriously, after my water broke, I still was like cleaning up because I taught a cooking class the night before. And, that's another thing to tell you is that I taught cooking classes every week my entire pregnancy. I didn't take any time off, with the Healing Kitchen with Dr. Marvis. The night before my water broke, I taught a cooking class, that very night. And so, again, and then like the couple weeks before, I did a plant-based conference with Plant-Based Pittsburgh, which was an all-day event where we cooked. I demoed for a bunch of people, did like lots of cooking demonstrations and things like that. And again, all day on your feet, really busy prepping ahead of time. People don't really realize the amount of work ahead of the time of cooking classes and conferences. It sometimes can be like hours ahead of time. So like felt well enough to do all of that kind of stuff. It just speaks to, I feel like how healthy my pregnancy was. Um, yeah. So anyway, so that's kind of how my pregnancy, I got very lucky. I do feel lucky. Not everyone has the same experience, but I love loved being pregnant. Every time I went to the doctors, I got a good bill of health. The only thing that came up that was, I'm going to debunk it right now. Paul was born and he was 7 pounds, 1 ounce. But every time I went to an ultrasound from week 20 on, and they actually ended up having me do more ultrasounds because of this, he was measuring in like the 99 percentile. So they kept telling me that I was going to have this like 9, 10 pound baby. And if you've met me in real life, I'm 4'11". I'm a very petite frame, very short, very small person. And, they kept telling me I was gonna have this like 10 pound baby. And they were like, were you a big baby? And I was like, no, I was sick. I was a little bit less than what Paul ended up being. I was almost 7 pounds. And Mark was a little bit bigger. He was like 8 pounds and some. So it's cute that Paul ends up being right in the middle. I was 6, Paul's 7, Mark ended up being 8. But they kept telling me I was gonna have like this huge baby, his head, his belly, all this was in like the 99 percentile. So I end up having to go to get more ultrasounds. And even like the one I had at, I think it was like 37 weeks, he still was measuring like massive. And so I'll go into this during my birth story, but that was the thing of concern where they didn't want me to go past 40 weeks because of the guest size of the baby. Now, ultrasounds obviously aren't correct because he came out at this beautiful 7 pounds, 1 ounce, 20.5 inches long, very, average size, healthy baby. So he ended up, thank God, not being 10 pounds. Thinking about pushing that out of my body would have been, already was like a little bit, them telling me I was going to have a larger baby already was like a little bit more of a stressor towards the end because I just assumed they were correct. But I don't know. I must have had more fluid or just the measurement was wrong. But that was the only really thing that came up during my pregnancy, which ended up not even being an issue. Anyway, so we'll go into all that during my birth story, which will be next podcast episode. I will say I did take 3 supplements my entire pregnancy and continue to take them after breastfeeding. And I wanted to just talk about those 3 because obviously I want to be a big support for you guys that are pregnant or if you have kids or if you're just interested. And I ate a whole food plant-based diet the entire time. I've been whole food plant-based for 8+ years. Not once did I ever think about, oh, I should add meat or dairy or anything like that. I just, like, there was no ifs, ands, or buts. I felt so good being whole food plant-based before. Why wouldn't I feel like that during my pregnancy? And so proud to say, obviously, that you can do this pregnant. I feel like a lot of people kind of get scared and jump off this lifestyle and then go back to eating all the things because they think they need it. You do not. I have a very healthy baby, had a very healthy experience on a whole food plant-based lifestyle. So I had lots of questions from family members and things like that. And he is just like this beautiful, perfect, healthy 7-week-old right now. So, I mean, it definitely can be done. I did do like a well-rounded whole food plant-based diet or lifestyle. I like to say lifestyle. It's not really a diet. Where I did whole grains, beans and legumes. I did, starches or starches and whole grains, both of those, leafy greens, fruit, nuts and seeds. So I did like a very great, well-rounded. I didn't cut out nuts and seeds. Obviously, I didn't cut out, anything that specific items. So I just try to make it as healthy as possible, colorful, balanced. And that's why I love Dr. Greger, who does nutritionfacts.org. And I also love the dietitian Brenda Davis, who co-wrote the book Nourish, which is a great book for you guys to go check out. But I love both of those 2 people in the plant-based world because I feel like they do such a nice job at a well-rounded, nutrient-dense lifestyle plate for you to look at. And same with Dr. Marvis, who I work with. also promotes eating this way. And, for me, like, as always, being whole food plant-based has been a longevity. I never thought about it as like a diet or a fad. It's something I want to do forever. So I've always been really smart with how I've balanced my meals and not cut out whole groups of foods. Of course, if you have an allergy, but that's why I always recommend like small amounts of nuts and seeds no matter what. Even if you're trying to lose weight, it's super healthy to include small amounts of those no matter what stage, because they have certain minerals and nutrients that you don't want to just like, cut out and then you haven't been eating them for months and months on end, and then people run into deficiencies of different things. So again, I did a really well balanced lifestyle before and during and after, and I really think that is the ticket to my success. Some supplements that I have taken, I took 3 during my pregnancy. I took a prenatal, and I did this even before I got pregnant. Any time where I was like, like during the ages that I'm in, I think it's wise if you're the age of 20 to 30, it's a good idea just to take a prenatal as kind of insurance policy in case you should fall pregnant. I heard, it might have been Dr. Greger mentioned it in one of his Q&As. And so I've been doing that for a while. So I already kind of had that built up in my system and continue and even doing it now postpartum. But I took the Garden of Life Whole Foods prenatal. I really liked it. It gave me no issues. Yeah, so that's the one I've kind of stuck with. Again, that's Garden of Life, Whole Foods prenatal, and I've liked it with no problems. The other thing I took was an omega-3. Now, I really love the omega-3. It's a DHA and EPA, and different people have different feelings about omega-3s. I think it's a good idea to add it to your lifestyle, no matter what. It's one of those things that I do eat, like flax and chia and other things, but I wanted to make sure I had enough in my system, especially for baby. And I really like the brand Complement. I actually have a 15% off code, I believe they gave me if you type in the Drury family. If you go to Complement on any of their supplements, they also have like a great, like basic, if you're not pregnant, essential ones that have just a few things in their vitamins. But I love, I've taken their omega-3s for like years now. And they even have like an at-home testing kit if you're specifically wondering what your blood is for that. But again, I take that during pregnancy and after. I think it's just a great idea if you're on a whole food plant-based diet to have that. But there's 15% off for you if you use the Drury family as your code. And then the third one I took was a choline supplement. And you can look up choline and brain support. It's a really great thing to think about, and that's through Ritual. And I'll have all this like in the show notes, those 3, in case anyone's interested. And those 3 have worked really well for me. Again, I took prenatal and I took the omega-3s before being pregnant. And then when I got pregnant, I added in the choline. And then now postpartum, I've stuck with those 3 as well. And so it's been great. I mean, I have no issues with those 3. They never caused any upset. And being able to take them really easily. And I felt like it was good support to my diet that I was doing, my whole food plant-based lifestyle. So yeah, so those were kind of the 3 things I did. Again, really lucky. I felt really well. The only concern I really had during my pregnancy, which I just want to mention, I feel like we hear it so much mentioned about like sushi and turkey and things, was listeria. This was like, oh my gosh, once I gave birth, I was like so excited because I was so nervous about getting listeria because I was eating, raw vegetables, greens, fruit. And, people always talk about catching listeria outbreak from, don't eat lunch meat, don't eat, raw fish, don't eat this and that. And another thing you can catch from listeria is from like just your salad greens. So I always washed everything extra well, but I was always like, oh my gosh, please don't let me get listeria from eating this healthy lifestyle. I want to eat all these greens, but so nervous. So one of the things I did to kind of help that is I cooked my greens. I would make sure I ate more cooked things because when you cook it, it kills the listeria. So just keep it in mind. I don't know. It's just something that I feel like no one really talks about is that fruit and veg can have it. And although if you do steam it and cook it or whatnot, uh, it does takes away that. So I again, baked my broccoli and cooked my cauliflower and sauteed spinach and kale and things like that before enjoying them, and that really helped kind of take away some of that fear of having that issue. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. That's pretty much it, I believe. Um, yeah, and it just kind of led up. I will go to the very end. So my due date was May 27th. Now I don't know like 100% how accurate that is because they ask you when you get pregnant, when was your last missed period? And personally for me, I didn't really track. I wasn't great. I wasn't like tracking it in an app. I never missed a period. It came every month, but like I never was like, oh, it came on Tuesday the 2nd. I never wrote it down. It just was like, oh, my period's here this month. Um, so I guesstimated the date of that and guesstimated when we conceived him. Like I had those two kind of ballpark, but like again, I didn't have it like written down in my planner, so it could have been off. So when we went to the first appointment and the first ultrasound, they told me May 27th would have been my date with all the information I gave them. May 27th ended up being on my mom's birthday, which was such a sweet thing to have again throughout my whole pregnancy, like just a little gift from her. I didn't know if he would come on that date or not. But it was so sweet to have that in my mind. And again, because I had those ultrasounds that were predicting this like giant baby, they didn't want me to go past 40 weeks. So in their plan towards the end, they told me that they wanted to induce me at week 40, which would have been May 27th. However, on May 23rd at 2 a.m., my water broke. So we did not get to the 27th. He was born on May 23rd. And we'll go into all of that. But my water broke at 2 a.m. I ended up having him at 11:33 p.m. that same day. But yeah, but anyway, so we'll get to that next time. Thank you guys so much for listening to my pregnancy story. And I'm just wishing you guys all the best. If you guys have any questions about pregnancy stuff, I can get into the nitty-gritty of other things. We just really enjoyed this time frame. I just really felt really good being pregnant. I loved it. I had no negatives to say about the experience. Some things obviously were hard, like, not feeling great with the all-day sickness, not morning sickness, I like to say. I said whoever named it morning sickness was either a man or incorrect, because I was nauseous up to the time I closed my eyes to go to sleep. But just other than like, just normal stuff, I feel like you're growing a human, and for me it was so special. It was such a great beautiful event having this life inside me and getting to know him. And yeah, and oh my gosh, he does so many of the same things he did in the womb. Like every ultrasound we had, he had his hand by his face, kind of like resting it on his, like almost like his chin or next to his cheek. And he has done that since we brought him home. So it's been so sweet. Like I have one ultrasound photo of him with his hand nuzzled by his face. I have a couple of them, but I have one really, really good, like, clear one. And he literally, like, right when they put him on my chest, like, I have a photo of him putting his hand there. And he does that all the time. He actually hated being swaddled because he just wanted his hands by his face. So he would, like, break out of the swaddle for his hands. And so we actually ended up like switching swaddles so he could have his hands free because he just like it's just such a comfort thing for him. So that was like so cool to see, like pregnant and then after, like, obviously he's the same little guy, but just to transcend into him being here with us. But anyway, I'm gonna go. My baby is starting to stir. Thank you guys so much for joining us from our family to yours. If you guys haven't yet, please check out our YouTube channel. I am So excited to be back making regular recipe videos for you guys and sharing all things whole food plant-based, family life, and more. Again, we have a Facebook group. You can reach out to me by email. You can, on my website, you can find my phone number if you need to ask a certain question. I'm available. And we also have our community membership where we do cooking classes and put out kind of all the recipes way ahead of time before they come out to YouTube. So thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time for our birth story, which I'm really excited to share with you guys. All right, have a good one. Bye, guys.